Welcome to Alien Whispers. If you enjoy the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Now, let's dive into the story. Howdy, y'all. My name's Captain Chuck Starwheel, and I'm about to tell you the tale of my very first gig as a galactic taxi driver. Now, I'm no greenhorn in space. I've been hauling cosmic freight across the stars longer than you could probably imagine, but driving folks around? That's a whole different ballgame compared to hauling cargo. It's an entirely new game altogether. I just got my license from the Galactic Taxi Authority, and I was prouder than a rooster in a cosmic henhouse. My ship, the Star Chariot, was a beaut, a refurbished Mark IV hyperdrive cruiser ready to blast off. She might not have been the latest model, but she had personality, and that's what mattered most to me. On that fateful day, I pulled into docking Bay 94 at Orion Spaceport. Let me tell you, that place was buzzing like a swarm of frogs hopping on a hot skillet. All kinds of spacecraft were zipping in and out, sleek luxury yachts, beat-up old freighters that looked like they'd survived 100 wars, you name it. Aliens from every corner of the galaxy were scurrying about, some haggling, some traveling, and others looking downright lost. I was leaning against the Star Chariot, sipping on a cup of space coffee. That's coffee brewed from beans grown in zero gravity, with a bitter kick that'll wake you up faster than anything else. I was taking in the scene, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. This was my first time with paying customers, after all. That's when I spotted him, a Xeno from Xeno-Whatsit, looking lost and a little jittery. His skin was green as a fresh cucumber, and his eyes kept darting around like he was expecting trouble any second. Instead of hands, he had long, wriggling tentacles, and he was lugging a small suitcase that was making some mighty strange noises. I straightened up and flashed my friendliest captain's grin. "Hey there, you look like you could use a ride, huh?" He glanced at me, then at my ship, nodding hesitantly. "Yes, I need to get to Xeno-Whatsit. Is that possible?" "Possible? Why, of course it is," I said, waving an enthusiastic hand toward the Star Chariot. "That's my job, getting you anywhere in this big OL galaxy." As he shuffled closer, I could tell he was real nervous. Those tentacles of his were twitching like they had a mind of their own. "But how do I pay for this? On my planet, we don't use money. We trade goods and services." I chuckled. "Well, out here, we use galactic credits. You got any of those?" He shook his head. "No, but I have these." He popped open a suitcase, and inside was a wild assortment of stuff. A crystal glowing like it had fire trapped inside, a little jar labeled Space Pickles, and a small critter that looked like a cross between a tribble and a gremlin, staring at me with big, curious eyes. I scratched my head. Not sure if this'll cover the fare, but we'll figure something out. Why don't you hop aboard, and we'll sort it out on the way." He looked relieved and scurried onto the ship. As I sealed the hatch, I thought to myself, this is going to be one heck of a ride. And it sure was. But that's a story for another time. For now, let's just say Captain Chuck Starwheel's first trip was anything but ordinary. Howdy, space folks. It's Captain Chuck Starwheel here, still riding the high of my first day as a galactic taxi driver. I just got my passenger, a green-skinned Xeno from Xeno-Whatsit, settled into the Star Chariot, my trusty Mark IV hyperdrive cruiser. The engines were humming like a country band on a Saturday night, and I was ready to make this trip one for the books. But let me tell you, things got wilder than a rodeo on a rogue asteroid faster than you can say Space Pickles. As I eased the Star Chariot out of docking Bay 94, Xeno was already fidgeting in the passenger seat, his tentacles twitching like they had a mind of their own. He was clutching that weird little suitcase of his, the one making soft clinking noises like it was full of cosmic knickknacks. I figured it was time to get down to business. "All right, partner," I said, keeping my eyes on the space lanes. "Let's talk payment. You got any galactic credits on ya?" Xeno's big OL eyes blinked at me, all confused like. "Credits? Oh, Captain Chuck, we don't use money on Xeno-Whatsit. We trade goods and services. It's much more civilized." I raised an eyebrow, nearly swerving into a passing freighter. "Civilized, huh? Well, round these parts, we use credits to keep the lights on. No credits, no ride. That's the deal." Xeno didn't miss a beat. He popped open his suitcase and pulled out a shiny green rock. "This is a lucky stone from my planet. It brings prosperity and good fortune. Surely this is worth your fare. I glanced at the rock, which looked like something you'd find in a gift shop at a Lawrence space station. Buddy, I appreciate the gesture, but I can't pay for fuel with a rock, lucky or not. Undeterred, Xeno rummaged again and held up a jar of glowing green stuff. Then how about this? Space pickles. They're a delicacy on Xeno-Whatsit. Tangy, with a hint of stardust. I couldn't help but laugh, nearly choking on my space coffee. Space pickles? When the Sam Hill are those? You trying to pay me with cosmic condiments? They're exquisite. Xeno insisted, shaking the jar so the pickles sloshed around. One bite, and you'll feel like you're dancing among the stars. Friend, I'd rather dance with a black hole than eat glowing pickles, I said, shaking my head. I need credits, plain and simple. Xeno's tentacles drooped. But I thought humans were so advanced you didn't need money. Don't you have replicators that make everything for free? I let out a belly laugh that echoed in the cabin. Oh, partner, you've been reading too many sci-fi holovits. Replicators ain't free, and neither is this ride. Everything's got a price, even out here in the big black. While I was trying to school Xeno on basic economics, I had to keep the Star Chariot from becoming space scrap. Orion Spaceport was busier than a beehive at harvest time. Massive cargo haulers lumbered along like cosmic whales, while zippy pleasure yachts darted around like gnats. I swerved to avoid a tug hauling a freighter twice my size, muttering, "Watch it, Chuck, don't turn this into a cosmic fender bender." Xeno, oblivious to the chaos, kept digging through his suitcase. "What about this?" he said, holding up a voucher. "It's for a free meal at the Xeno-Whatsit all-you-can-eat buffet. Their space sushi is legendary." I sighed, dodging a rogue asteroid that some fool hadn't flagged. "That's real nice, but I can't pay my docking fees with sushi. You got anything else?" Xeno perked up. "I'm good with electronics. I could fix something on your ship. Maybe we could call it even." I thought about the loose panel in the cargo hold that had been rattling since I bought the ship. Temptin', but fixing a panel ain't the same as paying for a trip across the Orion Spur. Just then, one of Xeno's tentacles flailed and smacked the autopilot button, making the Star Chariot veer toward a Zorgan taxi. I yanked the controls back, hollering, "Watch those tentacles, partner. You're gonna get us both grounded." Xeno gasped. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Captain Chuck. They have a mind of their own sometimes. Keep them to yourself, or we'll be scrap metal." I grumbled, swerving to avoid another ship. The spaceport was a mess, with ships cutting each other off like it was a cosmic demolition derby. I honked the horn at a freighter that nearly clipped my wing, yelling, "Learn to fly, you space jackass." As we neared the jump point for hyperspace, I prepped the controls. "Hold tight, partner. We're about to hit light speed, and you still owe me credits." Xeno nodded, tentacles wiggling. "Don't worry, Captain Chuck. I'll find a way to pay when we get there. My friends will help." Chuck grumbled, "They better, or you're going to be washing dishes on my ship to pay off the fare." With a flash, we shot into hyperspace, stars streaking past like fireflies on a summer night. The payment issue was still hanging in the air, but for now I was just glad to get out of that spaceport alive. "Howdy, space folks. Captain Chuck Starwheel here, still trying to keep my cool on my first day as a Galactic taxi driver. I just hauled my green-skinned Xeno passenger from Xeno-Whatsit through the madhouse of Orion Spaceport, dodging freighters and argon, overpayment like we were haggling at a cosmic flea market. We'd shot into hyperspace, leaving the traffic behind, but the whole no credits, just space pickles debate was still hanging over us like a bad smell in a spacesuit. Little did I know, things were about to go from wild to downright catastrophic faster than a comet on a bender. We just dropped out of hyperspace near Xeno-Whatsit, and let me tell you, that planet was a sight for sore eyes. Swirling clouds, oceans glowing like they were full of fireflies, and floating cities that looked like something out of a holovid. I was already picturing a quick drop-off, maybe a nap in the Star Chariot's pilot's seat, when Xeno started fidgeting again. His tentacles were wiggling like they were auditioning for a dance crew, and that suitcase of his was making weird noises, clinks, whirs, and the occasional squeak that didn't exactly inspire confidence. "All right, partner," I said, lining up for the approach to Xeno-Whatsit's main spaceport. "We're almost there." You got those credits lined up yet? Or am I still getting paid in glowing pickles? Xeno's big eyes darted around, and he fumbled with his suitcase. Oh, Captain Chuck, I'm sure my friends at the port will have credits. I just need to, organize my things. Organize, huh? I muttered, keeping one eye on the controls. The spaceport was coming into view, a sprawling hub of docks and terminals packed with ships of every shape and size. Just don't take too long, or I'll be charging you extra for the scenic route. As I eased the Star Chariot into the approach lane, the dashboard pinged with a message from Xeno-Whatsit Traffic Control. Vessel Star Chariot, proceed to docking Bay 17. Manual docking required due to automated system maintenance. Manual docking again, I groaned. What is it with spaceports and busted tech today? Xeno tilted his head. Manual docking? Is that difficult? Only if you don't know what you're doing, I said, flashing a grin. Lucky for you. I've parked rigs in tighter spots than a sardine can in a supernova. I focused on the controls, nudging the Star Chariot toward Bay 17. The port was busier than a bar on payday, with shuttles zip-in past and cargo drones buzzing like cosmic bees. I had to thread the needle between a hulking freighter and a sleek diplomatic cruiser, all while keeping an eye on the proximity sensors. Easy does it, Chuck, I muttered. Don't turn this into a galactic fender bender. Xeno, meanwhile, was still riffling through his suitcase, muttering to himself in some alien tone. Where is it? I know I packed it. Packed what? I asked, not taking my eyes off the docking path. My communicator, Xeno said, his voice tinged with panic. I need to call my friends to arrange payment. I sighed. Buddy, you're testing my patience. Find that communicator, or you're going to be washing dishes on my ship to pay off this fare. Just as I said that, one of Xeno's tentacles shot out, flailing like it had a life of its own, and smacked a big red button on the dashboard labeled Emergency Alarm. The cabin lit up like a fireworks show, and a blaring siren filled the air, loud enough to wake a hibernating space bear. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Emergency. All vessels clear the area. Distress signal detected. I nearly jumped out of my seat. What in the Sam Hill did you do? Xeno's tentacles froze, and his eyes went wide as saucers. Oh no, I didn't mean to. I thought that was the light switch. Light switch, I hollered, slamming the override to kill the alarm. But it was too late. The spaceport went into full panic mode. Ships scattered like roaches when the lights come on, and traffic control's voice crackled over the comms. Star Chariot, explain your distress signal immediately, or face immediate impoundment. Impoundment, I yelped. I ain't losing my ship over a tentacle-happy tourist. I yanked the controls, swerving to avoid a cargo drone that veered into our path. The alarm was still blaring inside the cabin, and Xeno was waving his tentacles like he was trying to signal a rescue team. Turn it off, Captain Chuck. Turn it off. I'm trying. I snapped, fumbling with the dashboard while keeping the ship steady. The manual override was stuck, probably because the Star Chariot was older than some of the stars we were flying past. This rig's got more quirks than a barrel of space monkeys. Outside, the chaos was getting worse. A diplomatic cruiser blared its own horn, and a swarm of security drones started circling us, their red lights flashing like angry fireflies. Traffic control piped up again. Star Chariot, you have 30 seconds to deactivate your distress signal, or you'll be fined and detained. 30 seconds, I growled. I'm going to need a miracle or a really big wrench. Xeno was practically hyperventilating, his tentacles flapping like wet noodles. I'm so sorry, Captain Chuck. I'll pay for everything. I promise. Save it, I said, diving under the dashboard to find the alarm's manual cutoff. Wires and circuits stared back at me, a tangle of tech that looked like it had been patched together by a drunk robot. Come on, you ornery piece of junk, where's the shutoff? As I yanked at a bundle of wires, the Star Chariot lurched, grazing a dock-in pylon with a sickening scrape. The proximity alarms joined the emergency siren, creating a cacophony that made my head feel like it was going to explode. Oh, great. Now we're dinging the paint job. Xeno leaned over, trying to help. Maybe I can fix it. I'm good with electronics. Stay back, I barked. Your tentacles caused this mess. But Xeno didn't listen. One of his tentacles slithered under the dashboard, and I heard a snap followed by a puff of smoke. The siren stopped, but so did half the dashboard lights. Captain Chuck, Xeno said, his voice shaken. I think I broke something. Broke something? I roared, crawling out from under the dashboard. You turned my ship into a galactic car alarm. Traffic control crackled again. Star Chariot, distress signal deactivated. Report to docking Bay 17 for inspection. Non-compliance will result in a fine. I slumped in my seat, wiping sweat from my brow. Inspection. Fan-friggin-tastic. My first fare, and I'm already in the doghouse. Xeno's tentacles drooped. I'm so sorry, Captain Chuck. I'll make this right. My friends will have credits, I swear. I glared at him, but I couldn't stay mad. The guy looked like a kicked puppy if puppies had tentacles and green skin. All right, partner, I said, taking a deep breath. Let's get to that dock-in bay before we make any more headlines. I nursed the Star Chariot toward Bay 17, dodging the security drones that were still buzzing around like angry hornets. The ship was limping a bit, thanks to Xeno's help, but she held together. As we slid into the bay, I muttered, first fare, and I'm already dodging fines and fixing my rig. This taxi gig's gonna be a wild ride. Xeno clutched his suitcase, looking guilty as sin. Captain Chuck, you're a hero for handling this. Hero, huh? I chuckled, shaking my head. More like a glorified babysitter for tentacle folks. As the docking clamps locked onto the Star Chariot, I leaned back, wondering how I was going to explain this to the port authorities. One thing was for sure, my first fare was going to be a story for the ages. Howdy, space folks. It's Captain Chuck Starwheel, sitting in the cockpit of the Star Chariot and trying to wrap my head around a wildest first day in the galactic taxi biz. I just survived a spaceport panic caused by my tentacle-happy Xeno passenger from Xeno-Whatsit, who turned my ship into a blaring car alarm by hitting the emergency button. We'd limped into docking Bay 17 at Xeno-Whatsit's spaceport, dodging security drones and traffic controls threats of fines. Now, with my ship clamped down and an inspection loom in, I was praying this fare would end without me losing my license or my mind. The dock-in bay was a hive of activity, with maintenance bots scurrying like roaches and port officials in shiny uniforms eyeballing the Star Chariot like she was a rust bucket. Xeno was still in the passenger seat, clutching his suitcase and looking guiltier than a kid caught stealing cookies. His tentacles were curled tight, and his big OL eyes were fixed on the floor. Captain Chuck, he mumbled, I'm so sorry about the alarm. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I leaned back in my seat, wiping sweat from my brow. Trouble's part of the gig, partner. But you're going to make this right, starting with those credits you promised. Xeno nodded, his tentacles twitching nervously. Yes. My friends are meeting me here. They'll have credits, I swear. I raise an eyebrow, not holding my breath. They better, or you'll be polishing my ship to pay off this fare. Just then, the hatch hissed open, and a pair of Xenos, same green skin, same wiggly tentacles, scampered into the bay. They were chattering in their clicky language, waving their tentacles like they were at a family reunion. My Xeno perked up, his eyes lighting up like a supernova. That's them, he said, practically bouncing out of his seat. I followed him to the hatch, keeping one eye on the port official who was already scribbling notes on a datapad. All right, let's see if your pals can save the day, I said, crossing my arms. Xeno's friends rushed over, and after a flurry of clicks and tentacle waves, one of them pulled out a sleek credit chip. For your trouble, Captain, the friend said in accented galactic standard, handing me the chip. We apologize for our colleagues' misunderstanding. I scanned the chip with my portable reader, and sure enough, it pinged with enough credits to cover the fare, plus a little extra. I let out a whistle. Well, I'll be damned. You folks came through after all. Xeno's tentacles wiggled with relief. Thank you, Captain Chuck. You're the best pilot in the galaxy. I chuckled, shaking my head. Flattery ain't gonna fix my dashboard, but it's a start. The port official marched over, his datapad glowing with what I figured was a laundry list of violations. Captain Starwheel, he said, his voice all business, your vessel triggered a false distress signal, disrupting port operations. Explain yourself. I put on my best shucks grin. Officer, it was a rookie mistake. My passenger here got a bit excited and hit the wrong button. Won't happen again. I swear on my mama's space chili recipe. Xeno nodded, his tentacles flapping. It's true. I'm not used to human ships. I thought it was the light switch. The official's eyes narrowed, but he glanced at the credit chip in my hand and the extra payment flashing on my reader. Fine, he said, tapping his datapad. I'll waive the fine, but your ship needs repairs before you leave. And no more mistakes. Yes, sir, I said, saluting like I meant it. You got my word. As the official walked off, I turned to Xeno and his friends. Y'all nearly got me grounded, but I reckon we're square now. Xeno's friends clicked their thanks, and Xeno gave me a tentacle wave. Captain Chuck, if you're ever on Xeno-Whatsit, come visit. We'll treat you to the best space sushi in the sector. I grinned. Might take you up on that, partner. Just don't expect me to eat them glowing pickles. They laughed, or at least I think they did. It sounded like a mix of clicks and hiccups. With a final wave, they headed off into the spaceport, leaving me to deal with the Star Chariot's banged-up dashboard. I climbed back into the cockpit, surveying the damage. The alarm system was fried, and half the lights were flickering like a cheap motel sign. Gonna need more than duct tape for this one, I muttered, pulling out my toolbox. As I tinkered, I thought about the day's chaos, the payment squabble, the spaceport dodge, and Xeno's tentacle fiasco. It was a hell of a first fare, but taught me a thing or two. See, driving a galactic taxi ain't just about getting from point A to point B. It's about handling folks from all corners of the universe, each with their own quirks and customs. Xeno thought humans were too advanced for money, and I reckon plenty of other aliens will have their own wild ideas. My job's to keep the ship flying, the credits flowing, and my cool intact no matter how many tentacles hit the wrong button. I patched up the dashboard enough to get by, then leaned back, sipping the last of my space coffee. It was cold now, but it still had that cosmic kick. Well, Chuck, I said to myself, if this is day one, I can't wait to see what the rest of this gig's got in store. As I fired up the Star Chariot's engines for the next fare, I couldn't help but grin. The galaxy's a big, messy place, full of weirdos and wonders. And Captain Chuck Starwheel? I'm just a fella to drive 'em all where they're going, one crazy ride at a time.